right, we'll call the meeting to order. Monica, roll call, please.
Absolutely. Selgrade.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Rosga.
Yes.
Voits.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the time for public comment, but I don't see anyone here, so we'll move on to the consent agenda for approval of claims, minutes, and the November 2023 financial report. I would take a first and a second.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Anybody have any questions regarding the approval of claims? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. How about the approval of minutes of the prior meetings? Okay. And then the November 2023 financial report.
I can talk about that.
Okay.
So this is for November 2023, so the fifth month out of the 12 fiscal year months, or 42% of budget is what you can kind of compare to the revenues and expenses. Actuals compared to budget should be about 42%. We did kind of modify the report a little bit to kind of show more of a true comparison with the expenses, because we are now including depreciation expense. If you look at each fund or each department, you'll see an additional line item there. It says year-to-date depreciation, and it's in the expense column. We kind of separated that out so you could tell what was actually budgeted, because we do not include the depreciation in the budget. So when you compare the budgeted amounts to the actuals, that's more of a true comparison and closer to the year-to-date, or the 42%.
So, Chris, we would see that where?
So, for example, on the water financial summary, the very first page of the entire report, on the left-hand side, the very first column, you'll see a line item that says year-to-date or YTD depreciation.
Oh, yeah. I see.
And if you follow that across, that is the year-to-date depreciation for the water department. Previously, that was getting included in the O&M expenses, and so it was kind of skewing that comparison a little bit. So this is our kind of solution to that. So if it's confusing, or we're open to feedback, if you'd like to see it presented differently, we can certainly work with that as we go forward. But again, it's just to show more of a true or realistic comparison of the expenses compared to budget, because we do not include the depreciation in the budget. So, and then on the very last page, I've added a comment, the health insurance fund balance, just because we did have our first renewal meeting last week. Chris D and I did with the folks at City Hall, and just a preliminary meeting just to kind of touch base on how that's going. This comes straight from the city's treasurer's report, so that is the health insurance fund balance, because we've been talking about that so much. I just thought it might be some good information to include in our financial report, because that fund does include IMU dollars. So we've added that. Other than that, I think everything else is pretty much on track. If there's any questions. Other than capital expenses, we talk about that every month as well. That's just kind of a timing issue, so that may not always be right at, for this month at the 42% comparison. But as we talk, those always kind of depend on when those expenses come in. So,
Not to get on to another subject, but you mentioned the health insurance. Are we going to be meeting with the city for any of that stuff, for the health insurance and all of that? A joint?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. We're throwing out some dates. We're trying to coordinate some dates. So yes. We've thrown one out. I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it was towards the end of March, or 1st of April. But we're kind of feeling people out, and we'll get those dates out, and there definitely will be a joint meeting on that. So
perfect.
Well, obviously, whatever efforts we tried to put forth,
It's staying pretty steady, yes.
Rolling. That's not steady.
But this is at the end of November, so, you know, this is mid-January, so this is only showing the fund balance at the end of November. We don't know,
So it could get worse.
Well, it could change.
It will change.
The balance could change.
History, I'm just saying, history's gonna show, anyway,
I know.
I'll shut up.
No. Okay. So any other?
I have some questions, Deb, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
And while we're on the fund balance, Chris, I appreciate you including that. That was good to know. As you go forward, it would also be helpful to know not only the balance, but what, and I can't remember where we ended up settling. I don't know if Chris and Ben or where we're at in terms of trying to identify what the target should be for that balance. If it should be, I was thinking we kind of had settled, that Chris and Ben had settled on something, but just showing not only what the balance is, but how far above the target it is, I think would also be helpful to identify. So that's just one thought. And then going back to depreciation, I noticed that too, just using the water as an example. Give me a second to get back there. So this is just another suggestion for you, Chris, to show that depreciation. Instead of showing it in the line that you have, the issue that you have is that it doesn't get added into any of the totals then, so it's not added into the total expense and transfers amount of $1,402,000 then right below that. The other thought or suggestion I was going to offer to you is to add another line a little bit below that underneath net surplus deficit. So keep the net surplus deficit the way it is, that 167, which is your budgeted net surplus deficit, and then add a line underneath that for depreciation, and then add that or include that number to get to the bottom line ending net position with depreciation added in there. So just another, it's not that big of a deal, but just another suggestion for you to try to track that and have it incorporated into the totals.
Okay.
And then I have one more question on fiber. I was just noticing on the operating fund that the revenues and expense we're trending high on, not necessarily high, but our net deficit is running, at least in my opinion, relatively high at $292,000. I didn't know if you guys had a feel if that's gonna continue to grow through the rest of the year, if that's just a timing thing and it will sort of work its way out, or how you guys were looking through the rest of the fiscal year in terms of where that net deficit amount will end up being. And I can't remember what we had budgeted for that number, so that's part of my question too.
Yeah, we expect, maybe give it to Kurt here for a little more color, but the short answer is there's a lot of upfront expenses, contracts, insurance that we pay all upfront. That is the bulk of that deficit, and we expect it to unwind through the remainder of the year.
Also, I think the 28E agreement revenue, we just booked that in January, correct?
Yeah.
Did we just get that?
Yeah, we just, no, but it's in December, January, but
Yeah,
certainly not.
so that's not
showing
showing
there,
here yet either, so.
So do you guys recall what is the budgeted net surplus or deficit?
In the operations, it's small, like $50,000 surplus. I think it's right
As
around.
far as, you know, you don't see anything necessarily being out of whack with that, at least as of right now.
No, I think, you know, with those couple of things as they unwind over time,
But,
there's no concern at this point, at least.
yeah, thank you, very helpful. That's all.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Question for Adam.
Yes.
So Adam, as far as the depreciation is concerned, as far as you were talking about there, what's the net effect of that recommendation or that suggestion? Does it materially change any of the numbers?
No, it doesn't. It takes it out of the middle of the, you know, where it got plugged in there, where Chris plugged it in.
Okay.
It's not being incorporated into any of the totals there, but it kind of looks like it is. So that's what was a little bit misleading to me. And pulling it out of that line then and plugging it in where I suggested, is just a way to incorporate it, add it into the net position, which seems appropriate to me. But, and Chris may have a different view of that, and that's fine. It is helpful to have it on there, and the fact that we're doing that for accrual, accounting purposes, I think is good, but, we just need to make sure it makes sense how it's being presented to.
We can definitely work on that.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions or anything? Okay, roll call, Monica?
Yes. Selgrade.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Rosga.
Yes.
And Voights.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on then to the electric utility action items. And we're going to, let's see, resolution. Okay, I'll take a first and second motion to set a public hearing and letting for the downtown underground conversion project, South Alley premise wiring modifications. And I think Al is here to give us maybe some more information, or do you want to say something first?
Get the first and second.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
sorry.
Has it been that long?
For discussion, this is, of course, Mike was unexpectedly out at the last minute here, so I'm kind of filling in. I'll give you the high level, and then really Al's here to help me out, to provide a little more details. What we have here for our downtown underground conversion project, this is specific to the South Alley. I think we've discussed in the past how we accomplished this, and our crews did a lot of the conduits and that type of larger infrastructure. And as we move towards the meter settings, and really that meter setting to the individual buildings, facilities, that is a regular electrician type of function. We don't have any of those type of licensed consumer type of electrician folks, and so we're looking to hire that out, that it will arrange for the completion of that from the infrastructure that we installed to the final end user connections. Al, can you help me out with that? What else do you have to?
Well, I think that's a good description to start with. I want to emphasize this covers only the South Alley. There are a total of 14 buildings that are on both the north side and the south side of the alley between Howard and Uxton. And we will be converting each of those buildings from the existing overhead service drop that now serves the building to a new underground connection. And as you just said, IMU crews have already put the conduit in the ground. So this contractor will be, number one, pulling the underground cable from the transformer or pedestal to the building. And then number two, making modifications to the building's electrical equipment to accept and facilitate that connection of the new underground cable. And that's really about the extent
do you have an estimate of what that might run?
Yes, I put my estimate that I gave Mike was about 155,000. I don't have the exact number here in front of me, but it's just a little over 150,000.
Anybody else have any questions for Al?
Is it permissible for us to actually pull the wire and just have the electrician connect it?
Yes, that could have been done either way. Mike and I talked about that a little bit, and his direction was to have the contractor do the entire project. Part of the reason is that if this were a new building, that's the way the work would be divided up. That is, the contractor for the building is responsible for commercial buildings in particular, is responsible for pulling the cable from the transformer to the building and doing all the building work. So we elected to just keep this with that same scope of work as you would do on a new building.
I guess I just see this as an opportunity for us to save some money potentially doing that.
I think
And I don't know how much that would be.
I think there's the, you know, where our crew time and our efforts are probably better, you know, focused on First Street and hiring this out. That was just a efficiency versus timing judgment we made.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and then you would have to buy the cable. Admittedly, it's fairly standard cable, but by making it part of the contract package, contractor is responsible for purchasing, installing, taking care of all the coordination issues, timing issues. So it seems to me that it makes sense. But yes, indeed, you could do that with your crews, that portion of it with your crews if you chose to go that way.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, Monica, roll call, please.
Yes. Let's go Voights.
Yes.
Selgrade.
Yep.
White.
Yes.
Smith. Smith.
She might have.
And Rosca.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now moving on to electric utility informational items. Are you covering that tonight, Chris?
Yep. Our crews have completed everything that we can in the downtown west alley. So our crews are complete there until springtime, and they'll pick that up. Turbine 7, we had been working on that. The radiator was good and clean. We're waiting on a new heat exchanger, and that'll take about 8 weeks to receive that piece of equipment. 8 weeks. Not as bad as we feared, but that should, I mean, the good news is they were able to take a lot of that out, and we did a lot of this work ourselves, where we feared that if some of those leaks were in different locations, that might be more problematic. Turned out well. We've got a path to fixing this.
So that was the leak issue. That corrects all that. By all accounts, yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for us then? Okay. Moving on to water utility informational items. Justin?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot either. Our newest employee did pass his grade 1 test, and now we are all certified operators at the water plant, which is huge. Other than that, just basic plant maintenance going on right now, and hopefully the next meeting I should be able to bring the Streetscape Southeast project and present that. So fingers crossed that all is getting finalized and be able to bring that.
Okay.
With the retirement of, I'm slipping a name right now.
Mike Metz.
Mike Metz?
Yes, he's water, right?
Electric.
He's
Electric, okay. That probably doesn't make a difference then. Okay, but are we good with like all, there's 4 grades, right?
Yes, yep,
And we have enough coverage on all 4 grades, so if someone retired or anything like that, and people are progressing through?
yes, yep, yep.
Okay.
Everybody's moving up, yep.
Been a long vacation.
Okay. Communication utility action items. Approving a bid of $10,800 for Phase 1 remodel of fiber shop. First and second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's see. Kurt?
Yep. Again, we're doing this first phase because we need some more space for the additional fiber tech that we're interviewing for right now. Just to get everybody up to speed, because I think I've mentioned this a couple times, but not everybody was here. We're converting the existing break room that we don't really utilize into office space for the tech, so we're going to move them over to the west side of the hallway. The existing kitchenette is going to flip over to where the printers are now, and then we'll move the printers into where the techs were. But what that'll allow us to do is get all 4 techs in the same area, utilize some more space. It'll also open up another office for the engineering staff. That room gets a little noisy nowadays with when all the techs come in and stuff. We've got people on the phone, things like that. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here on this first one. Phase 1 was budgeted in this year's capital budget. I did put $15,000 in. 2 bids were submitted. Construction by Cameron came in at $17,750. Kimball Construction bidded at $10,800. So my recommendation is to approve the bid from Kimball and move ahead with the project if you all agree.
Any questions before we take a vote?
I'm sorry, Kurt, can you say that again? How many bidders did you have, and who was the winning bidder?
2. Construction by Cameron was at $17,750, and Kimball was at $10,800.
Thank you.
We did a full review of all the bids. I know at that size of a job, a variation like that's not unusual, but
Right.
We vetted, made sure he had everything.
Yep. We gave them both the same specs. They bid the same way. So yep, we should be good.
Okay, if no other questions, we'll take a voice vote. And those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, communication utility informational items.
Yep, we're just preparing for winter. Obviously, with this snow, we'll probably be temping in everything else now until March, but we did good. We've got all the drops in for this week, so we really made it to mid-January, so hopefully we'll have fewer of those on the ground when it does finally melt and warm back up. So, winter project starting on right now is we're trying to get the wastewater and water SCADA system separated. We're starting in on that end of this month. Our goal is to have that done by February, but we're trying to get each of those departments on their own loop. So that's going to take up some time in January and February. Second interviews for the fiber tech position are this week. My plan is to make an offer to someone by early next week, so hopefully we'll have somebody in, hopefully by the end of January, 1st of February for that position. So we have a lot of applicants. I interviewed 3, so yeah,
Okay.
we've narrowed it down to 2. We've got two good candidates, so one of them I think will work well. So
Good.
Retransmission agreements are almost complete. NCTC and Sinclair finally reached an agreement on December 31st. They went all the way down the wire. So the only one remaining is Valley Sports. We currently have an extension with them until January 12th, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this meeting. And also on the weather side, we were making really good progress on the NOFA projects. Talked to Butch. They're obviously going to be shut down for a little bit too, but just kind of taking a look at numbers today, it looks like we're about 60% done on that project. So we really did pretty good for, again, getting started in October. So, and we'll finish up in spring again when it all falls out. So, cool.
Okay, any questions? Any comments? Okay. Moving on to combined electric, water, and communications action items. Nomination and selection of board chair and vice chair positions. Do you want to do this one by one, or should I read them all? start with?
I think we can simplify this up. If somebody's got some nominations, they can nominate the person in the position, and
I nominate.
We'll vote if we need to, and
You know what it is. So I would nominate Deb White as chair. I would nominate Dom Selgrade as, is it vice chair, is that the proper term? And I guess Lori'd be the past chair, because that's what she is.
And I would second that nomination.
So is that just a voice?
yeah. Now, if anybody else has any other nominations, or you can close the nominations and have a vote. You do have a first and a second.
Let's not close them. Leave them open.
Okay, we'll close the or does anyone else have another nomination? Please feel free. And hearing none, I guess then I will ask for a voice vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Now, Dom, it's you and me. Okay, the next item is discussion and direction regarding the fiscal year 2025 operations and management budget.
Turn that over to Chris. And she's got some words and some slides to go over.
So there's a handout available tonight. I think all the trustees have one. I emailed it to Adam and Lori. Hopefully you guys got that. And then there's some here for any public that would like to. And we also have it up on the monitor for the public to view as well. The first couple of pages, the first page is the fiscal year 24 reestimate as it is now. This is the first draft of the O&M budget. So the first couple of pages, the fiscal year 24 O&M reestimate, and then what we have at this point for the fiscal year 25 O&M. It's just a summary of each department and their expenses, just to kind of give you an idea how those kind of rank. Actually, these are exactly as they were last year, so how they rank doesn't really change much from year to year. You can kind of see for the top three in each department is salaries and benefits, operations things. For example, in the electric department, that the biggest line item there that we talk about a lot is the purchase power expenses. In the water department, for Justin, it's his chemicals, his treatment chemicals and those types of things. And then for Kurt, it's his contracts for service, TV contracts and that sort of thing. So those typically, and then the shared services, which is the funding for the utility services and the IMU admin departments. So those three things stay pretty consistent from year to year. So this is kind of just a summary to show you guys how those rank, and then also compared to what we are projecting for revenues at this time as well. So that's the first couple of pages there. The next few pages, you've seen these before and probably are more familiar with. For each department, if we skip over, I think the IMU Board of Trustees fund summary, that's all the departments, and that's the O&M and the capital as we have it now.
You're on which page now, Chris?
So this would be the third page in the handout.
Okay.
So it says IMU Board of Trustees fund summary. That's for all the departments, and that includes O&M and capital budgets as we have them right now. So since we're just kind of focusing on the O&M part of it for this discussion tonight, we'll flip the page again, and this breaks it down by department. The first one is for the water utility. Kind of shows our beginning balances, which comes directly from our audit, what those balances were at June 30th, 2023. Our re-estimated revenues and expenditures and transfers, and then those same items, revenue, expenditures for fiscal year 25, and then what we are projecting for an ending fund balance June 30th, 2025. So you'll see that information for each of the departments. There's the water, the electric, and the communications fund summaries there. Water.
Just a quick one.
Yes.
Quick question.
Yes.
So going back to our depreciation question, is depreciation included in expenditures, or where does that fall?
That is not included here.
That's not factored into this, okay?
No.
I just want to make sure I understood.
So for water and communications, we worked those budgets a few times, and we'll continue to do that. The electric budget, there's the biggest line item, again, the purchase power expenses. We don't have firm numbers on those, and I'll let Chris speak to that. I think you've got meetings next week, is that correct? Where you'll have some more information on that input.
The 17th, 18th, I'm going to the meeting, and we will, in that meeting, make our recommendation. I do know that for a number of reasons, it's probably not going to be a good one. They kind of have thrown around some numbers, and just as a round number of expectation, it would be a 10% wholesale increase. And so that obviously isn't favorable to the electric environment and transmission for us. The transmission market is pretty in flux now. Actually, this month or next month, we got a 17% increase on our transmission costs, and that, of course, is probably going to be a six-figure increase for the IMU Electric Department. So while what we have here is last year's wholesale numbers and last year's revenue numbers, when we do get those electric ones set, that one will certainly change. I think you'll notice a increase in cash position based upon that. I wouldn't expect that to end that way. It probably is across the industry not going to be a good year. So we'll have more information on that. Just the long and short of it right now, as you can see, you know, all else being held the same, even with those internal inflationary costs, the CIP and the known materials, you know, that we can handle in the budget pretty readily. The wholesale remains to be seen. The wholesale electric remains to be seen.
So just quickly, kind of the timeline for this, as far as setting the public hearing and holding the public hearing and certifying the budget. At the next meeting, January 22nd, we'll set the public hearing. And that public hearing will be held on February 26th, so we'll set it at our next meeting. The first meeting in February, we'll bring back some more firm numbers. By then, we should have a better idea on the wholesale power costs. We'll add in our assumptions. Last year, we provided kind of the same information here, but it also listed out our assumptions as far as what we used in the budget, as far as, you know, for projecting any rate increases, anything like that. We'll have more detailed information at that first meeting in February. So in between when we set the public hearing and actually hold it and approve the budget, we'll have a meeting where we'll kind of delve into a little more detail.
So as far as the re-estimated 24 revenue and expenses, I guess I think it would be good for us to see what the original figure was before. What's the change, I guess?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
That would be.
Yes.
Because without that, it's kind of.
Yeah, and so just to kind of talk a little more about those assumptions. So we talked, you know, about what is in and is not in the electric. Water, for everybody's purpose. Water, in there are some revenue assumptions, and what we currently have in there is a 75-cent increase on the base rate and a 75-cent increase on the marginal rate, which comes to about $3.50 a month for our average customer. You know, both the combination of some our CIP as well as continued inflationary costs on chemicals. We really had hoped we could keep that at a lower rate, or had planned, but those inflationary pressures, particularly on items like lime, carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, and chlorines are just have doubled, and they're adding shortage surpluses to it. So there's a lot of those inflationary pressures on water. Fiber, we have, we'll discuss in a little more detail. We don't have any rate increases forecasted in here. We might, we'll discuss that a little later in our closed session. If we do make a change to those rate increases, it would be a net zero. We would, just how our video operates, relatively small profits, we would be adding some expense and the same amount of revenue to cover that if needed. So I'll hand it over if there's any questions, but those are kind of the big assumptions or big probably rate-related items we can begin to discuss.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, then,
No vote.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
there's not anything, is there? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, combined electric, water, and communications informational items.
Nope, review and approve the amended policy.
Oh,
Solar.
that's right, sorry. Okay, review and approve the amended and restated generator interconnection agreement with Southeast Municipal Solar, LLC.
Same thing.
Oh,
Um,
fine.
Yeah, this is an agreement we signed last year, and when we signed that, we were the first of the Iowa communities to go forward and sign that agreement. There was some language changed when we signed that. If there was any modifications that would be beneficial to us, we were given the option to sign the new agreement as well. I sent you all out a memo from our attorney kind of outlining some of the big changes. All in all, it doesn't change our agreement, structurally or financially or any of those. However, there's lots of detail in there, descriptions, and other items that our attorney felt, all else being the same, the opportunity to match the other Iowa utilities, as well as he thought it was a little more tied a little better directly between and among the agreements. So with that, while there's no operational change, this one is a little better agreement, for lack of a better term there, and staff is recommending that change, so we can be in sync with the generator interconnect agreements of the other Iowa municipals.
Okay.
Motion
Question?
to approve the agreement.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now combined electric, water, and communications informational items.
All right, I will be gone to the main meetings on the 17th and 18th, with this one being kind of the important biggie of the year, and that will really allow us to complete the last of the big items. Other than after that, the budget will be kind of polished and some a little more detailed information as we get from the city, from our shared services and items like that. I don't anticipate those being difficult, so we'll have the last of the remaining information next week. And looking forward, there's a couple of other items just to put on everyone's radar. This year, as seems like we always get to, we've got a number of small RFPs that we'll put out. I think functions like, our legal service contract is coming up for expiration. We've been with the current firm for a year. We do have the option to extend that, or if we choose to go out for an RFP for that would be coming here in the late springtime. There's other kind of service-related stuff like garbage and a couple other, garbage cleaning items like that that we can expect to go out, as well as the last of the RFPs that we look on that does have a financial impact might be our banking service. Again, we'll kind of review our current field. We have the option to extend that or go out for RFP. We'll complete that analysis here throughout the remainder of the year. So those are a little of the kind of guideposts and little like RFP related goals we'll be accomplishing through the remainder of the year.
Hey, Chris?
Yes.
With the Dickinson Law Firm merging, has there been any issues with that? Do you anticipate any issues, anything that you're aware of that causes you concern with that?
Certainly, we'll have that kind of recap, and we've got some questions and want to get some information about how that might affect us. Certainly, John will still be there, and we rely heavily upon his municipal expertise. However, if with the merger, maybe we have some other options, we'll have to kind of feel those out and get a feel for working with another attorney if that's what comes out of this merger is kind of a reorganization of who's in charge for what. I would prefer to stick with John. However, if John is for various other merger reasons not available, I would probably rethink the RFP in total and would maybe want to open it up.
Okay, thanks.
When does this merger go through again?
At the first of the year.
It's already in effect.
Yeah.
It's a done deal then?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anybody? No? Okay. We will now go into closed session under other business. And I will need a first and second motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code Section 388.9, parentheses 1, to discuss marketing and pricing strategies and proprietary information of the Telecommunications Division, whose competitive position will be harmed by public disclosure that is not required of potential or actual competitors, and no public purpose is served by such disclosure.
Second.
Okay, we are now in